Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my April 2024 book haul. Yes, this is a book haul where I have 20 books. I keep saying every month it's going to be smaller this month, it's going to be smaller this month, and every month I lie. I just need to stop promising that. I need to stop promising that's going to stop. But I need to hold up to that because, man, are my shelves getting full. So, I have 20 books this month. Four of them were gifted by a publisher, so I have 16 books that I bought. And then of the 16 books that I bought in April, two of which are comics, two of which are kind of guidebooks, and then the other, what would that be, 12 books are actual novels that I got. So why don't we start off with the books I purchased, and then I'll do the books that the publisher gave me at the end. So first of all, I'm going to say that my parents went and got some books at a bookstore when they were traveling, and they called me and they said, hey, anything here you want? And they showed me the books, and so I got some. So one book I got was On My Way to Paradise by Dave Wolverton. This is a science fiction novel. This won him an award. I don't know if it was a Nebula or a Hugo, but it was some big award that he won for this. This was his debut novel, from what I understand. And this novel kind of jump-started his career. It wasn't a huge seller, but it jump-started his career. And Dave Wolverton, also known as David Farland, wrote my absolute favorite fantasy series, The Rune Lords, and he also wrote some science fiction books that are pretty good. So I'm excited to get into this one, and it's longer than I thought. I thought it was going to be much shorter. So I'm excited to get into that. Next, I've been collecting the New Jedi Order recently. I've read through the whole series before I even started the YouTube channel, but all of them books that I got were from my brother-in-law. He was just letting me borrow them, so I've been slowly buying the books. So I did get a copy of Reunions. So the good thing about this isn't like a book on my shelves I still need to read. This is a book I've read already, so that makes it easier. Not quite so bad. I also got two books by Jim Butcher, but from two different series. I got his book White Knight because it was at one of my local bookstores for really, really cheap, and it's in pretty good condition still. And this is one of the next ones I have. I actually accidentally skipped a Dresden book, but that's okay. I'll go back and get it. I haven't skipped reading it, just skipped buying. Anyway, there's one before this, I think it's Proven Guilty, that I still need to buy. But I'm slowly collecting the Dresden books, and I do want to jump back in. I read one of the books last year, and I want to jump back in again, because I really enjoy the Dresden Files. And this one's very different cover than the others, because all the others have like a black cover with, the stuff going on in it. And this one has a white cover, so it's quite different. But I'm excited to get into this. I also got Jim Butcher's book, The Aeronauts Windlass. And I saw this, again, very cheap at a local bookstore. And it's a beefy book. It's like 750 pages. But I saw Murphy Napier review this book, and I saw that she really liked this and the Animal Companion in this book. And he just released the second book in this series, which has a totally different type cover. But I figured, you know what? This is really cheap. Might as well, get it, see if I enjoy it. So, and it's nice and floppy. I like that. And it's that tall rack mass market, which I surprisingly find myself liking. Speaking of tall rack mass markets, I got Swan Song by Robert McCammon. Now, this is not, I think this is a post-apocalyptic horror book, and that is not my jam. But I recently read a book off of Brian Lee Durfee's recommendation, and it was Pillars of the Earth, and I loved that book. And because of it, so I'm like, you know what? Brian Lee Durfee's got a good recommendation thing going on for me. Some of the books I've read because of him have been good, real bangers. And I figured may as well read more of the books that he recommends. So that's another one that I got, and I'm excited to get to it. This is also a pretty long one. It's 900 pages long. Woo! That's a beefy book there. Next, I got some comics. I don't buy comics often. And ever since, I got some Star Wars High Republic comics. And for the High Republic, I said, I'm just going to cover the prose. And then I said, well, I'll cover the manga since there's not that many manga. And then I've been thinking, you know what? I mean, I want to get the adult comics at least just to have them and compare them. And I saw them for actually pretty cheap at my local bookstore. So I got Volume 1 and Volume 2 of the High Republic comics. These are, I'm going to say five-issue bind-ups of each. So there's 10 issues between the two. And, I don't expect this to be my favorite High Republic story because I'm not a big comics person, but I'll get them for collection purposes. So, and these will be like quick reads that I can read, and like, I could read these both in a day, and read something else at the same time. Next, I had a gift card to buy something at Barnes & Noble, a new book. And I thought, okay, what's a new book that I could get at Barnes & Noble? And so I picked up a copy of Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. Delilah is a great author. I love reading her books. She wrote The Violence. I loved that book. And she's written some Star Wars books that I've loved and some YA, so I really love her work. And even though this book features something that I don't want to read about, a couple of things I don't want to read about, I still like Delilah's writing. So I was like, you know what, I'll give this a chance. And it's a novella. It's only 200 pages. Yeah, it's only about 200 pages, and it's a small, it's smaller than regular hardcover, so it'll be a nice read. Problem was, it was expensive. But still, that'll be an interesting read. That's also a horror book. All right. They did a a 5-book deal at my local bookstore where you could get a penny a page. So if the book was 100 pages, you spent 100 pennies or $1 for the book. And so that was a really nice deal on some things. And so I was going to get 5 books, and so I got some. Some of the books were replenishments or to get different to get different editions, and then some of them were to get new books. And one of the books I got with this deal is a kid's book. And I only got this book because my students love this series. My students read this series all the time. Every day in my classroom, there is a student reading one of these books in this series. And so I just thought, you know what? What if I just read at least the first book, just see what it's about? Why are my students love this series so much? So I've given that caveat. I bought it because I want to know what my students are reading. So I got the book, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I know this is not highbrow literature, but I figured I want to be able to know what my kids are talking about and reading, and they love this, so I'll give it a try. And it will, take me an hour to read probably, so I'll blaze through it. So it won't be difficult. And I think my kids will appreciate that their teacher reads books that they read. The next 3 books, you'll probably think, if you're a longtime viewer, you're like, wait a second, I've seen these books on your shelves. Technically, yes, you have. However, all these 3 books that I'm going to show next, I had in a different edition that didn't match my set. And it bugs me sometimes when that happens. So I don't do this often. So for 2 of these 3 books, they were actually, I had to peel the sticker off of one, sorry. For 2 of these 3 books, they were from the penny a page deal. I wouldn't have bought these ordinarily because they would have been way too expensive. But because of the penny a page deal, it made it worth. The first one was not a penny a page deal, though. This one was from McKay's books that I got. My dad got this for me. Red Mars, the first book in the Red Mars trilogy. I have Green and Blue Mars in mass market paperback that fit this edition. And I had Red Mars in this big old beefy trade paperback that I bought as an impulse buy, and I regret buying that. And I didn't like the cover. It's just a big red cover, and it's ugly. Anyway, and so I saw this, and I was like, or my dad saw this, and when he mentioned it to me, I was like, you know what? Go ahead and get it. I wanna get that one. So Red Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson, who is a guy. I am sorry to for saying she on a previous video. It's a guy. Anyway, then I also got a hardcover of The Hunger Games, the first Hunger Games novel. I had the first book in paperback, and it was like, I don't know if it had warped in the sun or if it had some water damage, but it was like you couldn't really bend it without it creaking and making noise, and it was just so annoying. And then I had a hardcover of books 2 and 3. And so I was like, why do I have a paperback of book 1 and a hardcover of books 2 and 3? So I got a hardcover of book 1, and I'm very excited to get into that one. I also got a hardcover of, this was again a penny a page deal, of The Last Best Hope, which is one of my favorite Star Trek books. Again, I had a trade paperback of the book, and then I had hardcovers of books 2, 3, and 4 in this series. Wait a second, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the series were all hardcovers. And so the first one was a paperback, and I was like, I want to get a hardcover of it. But this hardcover, basically, because it's such a new book, the bookstore ordinarily would price it at like $17. But because of the penny a page deal, I got it for $3, which was why it was worth it to get this time. All right, those are the replenishment books. Another book that I got was a hardcover book, The Broker by John Grisham. Love John Grisham's works. Every book of his has been entertaining in some way, and I love reading his books, and I cannot wait to read more. And so this is a legal thriller. It looks like I don't know the premise of the book. I don't really. John Grisham's at the point where I don't look at the premise of his books. I just look at the title and say, do I have that one? Yes or no? Go out and buy it. Next, I have a beefy book here, and this is A Column of Fire by Ken Follett. This is the third book in his Kingsbridge series, although you wouldn't know by the way the book is designed that it was from the Kingsbridge series. Anyway, but this is a 900-page historical drama. Historical fiction, kind of a drama, and it is from his Kingsbridge series. I read the first one, Pillars of the Earth. That review is already up. I loved Pillars of the Earth. Amazing book. Big problems with some parts of it, but amazing book nonetheless. And so I had book 2 already, so I picked up book 3. I anticipate reading these eventually. Beefy book. Now, the next 2 books I got were basically source books / art books. And I got these 2 books because of the penny a page deal at the local bookstore. And, ordinarily they're way too high for my, pricing. But the first one is The World of Shanur by Terry Brooks and Teresa Patterson. And this has some artwork in it, and it has information. It's like a guidebook on Shanur. And I eventually plan one day in a couple of years to reread the entire Shanur series and to make like lore videos on it, things like that one day. Not in 2024. Not in 2024, but maybe one day. And so I decided, why don't I get this book eventually, and again, because of the penny a page deal, it was ordinarily like $15. I got it for like $2 because it was 200 pages. So that was really nice. Then probably the best buy of the month, and this is one of the best buys I've gotten this year, and this is the book by George R.R. Martin, The Rise of the Dragon, an illustrated history of the Targaryen dynasty. This is an art / source history book about the Targaryens. It has, I'll just show you the front flap thing. I mean, look at how gorgeous that cover art is. Look at how gorgeous that cover art is. And that art is, not cover art, but anyway. This book, this was an example of a store ordered too many of these. And so they just sold them to my local used bookstore for pretty cheap. And so it was... Normally, I think this book's about $50, but my local bookstore was selling it for $30. And then because of the penny a page deal, the deal was as long as it was a used book with a used sticker, you were allowed to include it up to 5 copies, or up to 5 total books. And I saw this and I brought it up and I said, this matches your system. It's a used book and it is marked down and stuff. And they said, we will accept it. So a book that normally at that bookstore was valued at $30, and at other bookstores would be at like $40 or $50 new. I got this book, which is practically brand new. I got this book for $3.50, and that was I was so happy with myself that I was able to get that. So that is Rise of the Dragon. Now, will I read the book cover to cover? Eventually, maybe, but that's not a novel. It's like a source type book. Anyway. Next, that's all the books that I purchased. Let's talk about the books that were sent to me. This month, actually, not as many books were sent to me. I think it's because I didn't accept as many this month because I accepted a lot last month and the month before, and also just because of publishing timelines, things didn't work out properly for some things. But I did get 4 books sent to me by Bain Books, who has sent many books to me. One book they sent was The Moon and the Desert by Robert E. Hampson. This book previously published in trade paperback, but the publisher republished it in mass market, so they sent me this. I interviewed Robert E. Hampson at DragonCon, so look up Robert E. Hampson, Jonathan Cohn interview, and you'll see my interview with him. He was really cool to meet, so I did get that one. I'll put that up here. And then I got sent the mass market reprint of High Noon on Proxima B, edited by David Boop. That's a great last name, Boop. And this has a bunch of people who have contributed short stories to this collection, also from Baen Books. But I was sent this one, and it looks like a fun science fiction short story collection to get into. Next, they sent me the hardcover by David Weber, Toll of Honor, part of the Honor Harrington series. Now, I've been reading the Honor Harrington series, I'm enjoying it, and David Weber is probably Baen's standard bearer author in terms of sales, in terms of position in the company, in terms of, David Weber's the big author at Baen, and so this was a big deal to get him to have another Honor Harrington book. And so this book I will get to eventually once I get through all the other Honor Harrington books, because there's a lot. And then the final book they sent me is probably the one that most people on BookTube will recognize, and that's Disquiet Gods by Christopher Rocchio. And this is the 6th book in the Sun Eater series. And I've been meaning to get to the Sun Eater series, but I can never find copies anywhere. None of my local bookstores. And at the time that I went online a couple months ago to get it, there weren't copies available anywhere, except for at ridiculously high prices. And I thought, you know what, I'll just wait. I'll get it when the mania dies down. So I have book 6. I just need to get books 1 through 5. And what I just love that Baen did this. And you've probably seen this elsewhere, but, the front cover has a Daniel Green blurb. And I just think that's awesome. And on the back, there are blurbs from other authors and and other like book review websites, which are standard, but they also have blurbs from like Patrick Leo at Novel Notions, and they have Mike from Mike's Book Reviews blurbed here. And so it's really cool to see that Baen recognizes the power of BookTube and is willing to harness that. And I think that's going to be good for Baen one day. And so I'm really excited to get to this one day, but not for a while. Baen says, you could start the series here. I'm not starting it there. I'm going to wait till I read the other first 5 books, but I will get to this eventually. So those are the 20 books that I either bought or were sent in the month of April. Which books do you recognize? Which books have you read? Which books did you enjoy? All that stuff, let me know in the comments section down below. And which books are you most interested in me reading? Which ones do you want me to prioritize on this next month? Let me know all those thoughts in the comments section down below. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.